Allie here, and welcome to the Chibitronics YouTube channel. And today I'm going to be making a light up card using the Pawsome Stamps Happy Camper stamp set. Let's get started. So I'm going to stamp my slimline card background first. So I'm just positioning my stamps, and we're going to use some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And we're going to stamp out our images first. I may create masks to create my background, but we'll get to that in a moment. For this second round of stamping, I've put in stars, the moon, clouds, a rock, the bush, and our cute little bear. Go. And there's our scene. Let's get coloring. So I have stamped all of my images with the exception of the stars onto some eclipse masking paper, and I'm going to fussy cut these out because it's going to make my job of coloring in such a large background so much easier. Alright, I'm going to get started. And I have finished fussy cutting my mask. Everything is in place. Now, because my stars were kind of finicky and fussy, I decided to use an art masking fluid instead. Basically, this just adds a waterproof cover to whatever you paint it on. I have a specific paintbrush that is all gummed up that I use only for this because you cannot clean it. Once you've gummed it up, it's gummed up for life. So everything is ready to go for my background. I just have to put some kind of mask in for my ground, and we can start with my Copic airbrush system. Away we go. So I have a 2-inch piece of my Scotch Post-it note tape, and I'm just gonna cut kind of a landscape line here across it, and that's what I'm going to use to mask off the ground for the card. And there we go. And then it'll also help adhere my card down. I have just my piece of cardstock sitting on a scrap piece of paper because the overspray from the Copic system will get all over your desk, and you really don't want that. So this is the air grip for the Copic airbrush system. This works with sketch markers, and all you do to load it in is take your marker with the large nib end, and you're going to literally push it in until it clicks, and you just want to match that angle, this angle, with the nib angle, and you know you've got it right. So I always have a scrap piece of paper, and I make sure that it's flowing, and all you have to do is press the little button on the top, and it dispenses air across the nib, and it pulls the ink from the nib. So here we go. So I've loaded in a darker Copic marker. This is a B26 or B26, and we're going to continue to color in that sky. Away we go. All right, I've got another even darker blue. This is a B29, and away we go. And again, one more darker, a B39. I am going to go in and darken this just a little bit more. I think I'll go in with my B26, which was my second lightest color, and I'm just going to darken this just a bit. I wanted a little bit of a lighter area around that moon. And there we go. Now, I'm going to carefully peel off this mask because we're going to switch it out for the opposite side of the mask. You may have to reposition a few things if they get stuck to one another. Happens all the time. Alright. I got my rocks stuck there, so I'm just going to put that mask back on. And always keep the reverse side of your mask so that you can put it over top of your other area. Now, I always go and put this particular mask on just slightly above the blue line. What it does is that it helps eliminate having a white halo of ink, so that your green or whatever color you so choose to do your foreground in kind of meets up very much so with that sky. So you're not going to have a white line there, or you hope you're not going to have a white line there. All right, we're going to work on some dark greens. I think we'll start with our G82. All right, again, everything is masked, so you just go ahead and apply. All right, there's a good base color. We're going to go quite dark. YG17. Again, always test your marker out. We're going to deepen those background greens right along that edge. Do a little bit underneath the bear and in front of our little shrubbery right there. Alright, and I'm going to put a little bit of a brown base, so indicating like rocks or stone. Let's start with a E53. I'll go a little darker with an E55. Now, let me show you a trick. Not only can you use your Copic markers in the direction with the large nib, but you can also use them with the brush end. The brush end gives you a much different application of ink. It gives you a splatter. So I just sprayed it once and it gives you a splatter effect. So you can use this to create a little bit more detail. So I'm just going to use my E57 here, and we're just going to put a little bit of splatter down in that foreground, just for a little bit of detail. There we go. Okay, let's do some revealing. Let's pull off our masks here. So let's start with our landscape mask. You can reuse these for sure. What I do is I take these masks and I put them on the backer sheet for my stamps, and I will use them a few times. They have limited stickiness, but they will definitely work for at least a couple of cards. So it'll save you time in having to cut those masks again. Hooray! And there we go, there's our reveal. Now, to remove the masking fluid, there's a number of ways you can do this, but this is what I find the easiest. You can just literally take your finger and it just starts to pull up. It's that easy. Now, you can also take an adhesive eraser like this and use it to pick it up, and that works absolutely fabulous too. But like I said, my finger works just as well. And there we go, all is revealed. Now let's color in our background. Alright, let's do some coloring. I'm going to put this on fast forward. Hope you enjoy this, and then we'll get to creating our light up feature. And there we go, she's all colored. Let's make her light up. So I've designed my card front so that it's a little bit smaller than my card base, which gives it this white frame. So I have to be very aware of where I put any foam tape underneath and where I put my mechanisms. So the first thing I did was I transferred all of my light information to the actual card base. So now I have a little doodle of the moon, an indicator of where my stars are, and also the windows in the end of my trailer. So this is going to help me plan out my lights. And all I did for that is literally I stuck my panel in behind and used my light, and the image transferred through the paper so it allowed me to pinpoint all of those specific areas. So easy peasy. The other thing that I've decided is that I'm going to put my button or my battery pack basically underneath the door on the front of that camper. So I've also indicated that place. Okay, we're going to start by making our little battery pocket. And I am going to make it so that it sits like this, so the battery isn't going to very easily come out. Actually, but it'll, actually I'm going to do it this way. And that will allow me to put a little piece of paper in to block the circuit for transport. And I'll show you that towards the end here. But let's adhere this little piece here. Just going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back, and all it is just a little folded piece of paper. That's it. Super, super, super simple. And that's where our little 3-volt battery is going to sit. And the paper basically allows the copper tape to go around the paper and make contact with that battery. And that's why we kind of need that fold over piece. So I've cut a very long strip of the copper tape, and I actually like to cut my copper tape literally right in half. So I have 2 thin lines of tape to use. You do not have to do this to make this work. Okay. So we're going to start off by creating the positive side of the copper tape. Okay. So the positive side is going to be the top of the battery, and the negative is going to be the underside of the battery. And what I need to do is I need to take this copper tape and I need to start it on the beginning, or sorry, on the top of that piece of paper. We're going to wrap it around and we're going to bring it all the way across and down. You have to be very careful. I can't talk today. Of this joint here. So make sure your tape goes down the crevice and you make sure that you have lots of tape to go over that bend. Then we're going to take it out, and we need to basically connect all of these lights together. So I'm going to take my tape all the way out here, and we're going to take it up. Now I have to remember I need some space, because remember we have that outline. Now I could combat that by just matting it on another piece of white paper and then putting it on top. And you know what? I think let's do that. Let's save some effort here of trying to remember to leave the gap. I think it'll be much easier. So we're going to take that positive line and we're going to go down very close to our stars, or where we're going to put our lights here. Then we need to go over and we're going to connect it to this star and this star. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a couple of lights in here. So I need to also add those And let's see, how are we going to do this here? We're going to have one here. Let's see if we can fit in 3. I'm hoping I can get 3. And we may have to fiddle with this a bit. So we want to keep this line on the same side of the sticker. So it's going to come down this side, here. And then I want to put something in the middle of here. I'm not going to put multiple. I think I'm just going to keep it to a single light. So we're going to bring our tape down into this light source. And then I think we'll go up to this light source. And then we're going to put another light in here. But maybe we'll go... just trying to keep everything on the correct side here. We'll go to this light, which is another star. This light and down. So this is all the positive feed to all of those mechanisms. Now we have to do the same with a copper tape piece for all the negative side. So it's going to start underneath and on underneath that battery. So we're going to need it to go out, and we're going to go up, and we're going to go around our little pocket here and down. We're just going to kind of go parallel to everything. We need to add it to this star and this star. We're going to come down, and this star and this star, and in to do those 3 mechanisms on the moon. The idea is not to try and cross that positive line. Not that it's not impossible to make it work, but I'm trying to be conscious of where that tape is going. Okay, so there we go. So basically I'm just going to run it parallel to wherever my positive is, but of course can't cross them, otherwise your circuit won't work. So let's lay down that copper tape. So I always try and make my piece of copper tape as long as I need it, or longer. I would rather have leftover copper tape than have to fix it. If you have one piece, it's going to tend to work better because it's not going to have any joints to contend with. So I'm going to run it on the inside of our little battery holder. I'm using my bone folder to kind of help me keep it nice and smooth. Now be very careful with this joint. This is a 3-dimensional joint. There we go. Get the initial piece kind of stuck down onto the flat surface of my card here. So I'm going to try and run it. There we go. Perfect. I'm just using my bone folder to make the tape nice and flat. I find that the less creases you have, the better. Okay, so 4 corners, you kind of fold it back on itself, kind of on an angle, and then you want to, sometimes you have to help it along, and then you fold it back on itself. So it's now stuck to itself. Again, we're aiming to try and stay as close to our light indicator spots there as possible. Again, you just fold it kind of back on itself. The great thing about copper tape versus a wire is that this is not bulky. Okay. And you can go anywhere and you can add as many lights as you want to your circuit. So you're not limited by the amount of wires, because your copper tape is basically your wire. So, all right, so we got to make another bend here. And I'm just going to trim off my backer piece just to make it a little bit easier to use here. Again, back on itself. You want to keep that piece of copper wire intact. It just will make your circuit work so much better. Okay. So again, corners aren't too hard to make. And we're going to go around that corner using the bone folder to kind of aid in the positioning here. And a little bit of back on itself. We're going to come down the side here. We got to get that third piece of our moon. Now, the copper tape will bend slightly without folding back on itself, so you can make a It is definitely flexible, which is fabulous. Again, this may be interesting to see if I cut enough off here. I don't think I did, but that's okay. We will figure this out. Just flattening out that curve all the way up to that upper star. Back on ourselves. A little bit of back on that copper piece right there. Okay. There we go. So we got the majority of that done. I'm just gonna carefully go over everything there. And I am going to go and I will come back and finish this off, but let's go and finish the negative side of the circuit. And instead of going out here, I'm going to go up instead. That'll save me some tape. So again, peel off the back and we'll come out the top. I like to put a fair amount of tape on the inside of that battery housing. Just ensures that there will be a really good connection between the battery and our tape. All right. Gotta be a little finicky because that's a really tight corner there. Okay. So back on ourselves. Again, I'm trying my best to keep it flat if I can. It doesn't always work, but we surely aim to do it that way. Okay. So I'm going to cut the corner here. We're going to go up, just on an angle up towards that first light. Again, give our copper tape a crease. Okay, and back on ourselves. Just a tiny, tiny bit here. And around the corner. And all right, I'm going to finish this up and I'll be back. Okay, so I've decided to not go with the lights in the trailer. We're going to forego those, so therefore I didn't finish off the end of the circuit. I've decided that my moon is going to be orange. So I've used our amazing new light sampler, and this one contains white, red, yellow, blue, pink, orange, and green lights. Great way to start off your chibi cards and creations. Okay, so I've already applied one orange one, and I'll come back and put the other two orange on that moon, but let's put on the rest of the white. So we're going to use white lights for the stars. So all you have to do is match up your positive side and your negative side. And because all these are our stickers, this is so super duper easy to lay them in. All you do is stick them to your paper. So I'm going to do that for all of my stars, making sure that not only do my stickers overlap the correct direction, positive to positive, negative to negative, but they're also in the right position on those penciled circles. Okay, again, we're going to forego this one. We've got a little one here. Again, I'm just double checking that I've got that light in the right position. Got two more white ones to go. Again, you want to make sure positive to positive, negative to negative. And hopefully this last one will have enough connection here that we're good. Again, double checking position. Alrighty, so I have made a few corrections. I have replaced the orange ones with white. I decided that because the orange were drawing too much electricity, it was dimming my white ones. So I decided to pull them off and replace them with white LEDs instead. And so now everything is nice and bright and clear and working. Hooray! So let's add some foam tape to disguise our little battery housing here. And we'll get this card finally finished. Alright guys, so I have added all of my double layer of foam tape. Now I always leave kind of a single layer of foam tape with a piece of whatever cardstock I use for my card base here, because I'm going to slip my piece of paper over top and I don't want it to stick to anything. I want it to be able to be removable. So I always put a piece of paper over top of that piece of foam tape, and everything is now ready to be peeled off and apply. The card front is ready to be applied. And before I do that, I'm going to add some white strips around that hopefully aren't going to interfere with any of my stars. And then we'll have a finished card. So here's our finished card. I'm going to put a sentiment on the inside instead of the outside. I did stamp the word press on the door. And let's turn out the lights and see how she glows. There we go. That's some glowing moon and stars. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you learned something, and I hope you'll try out our fabulous products. Thanks again for joining me. Have a great day, guys.